So yeah, we're from Coronado High School with an organization called We Fill the Blank. We're mostly organized around getting the youth involved in government and politics throughout the El Paso region. So today we hope to kind of shed some light on how to engage the youth within your own respective organizations within your community, and a little bit about what we do. Alright, so like I said, we fill in the blank, and our motto is actual productive political solutions by we people. Our mission statement is mainly formulated like what I was talking about earlier, engaging the youth in politics and showing that the youth actually have a role within the community more than just going to school or helping around the house with chores and things of that nature. We focus mostly around politics, and we reach out to students that are interested in government and politics, and so we usually get associated with organizations that have similar goals with our own, and we like to just put ourselves out there and do outreach in different areas of the community, such as Burgess High School. So our main philosophy is that the right to vote is embedded within every American citizen, regardless of age, and we think that you have to start learning about politics before you actually turn 18, because there's just like presiding dogma that once you turn 18 years old, you're going to be able to foster some sort of enlightenment within yourself and know all of the presidential candidates, know everything that's happening in your government at that time, and that's just not true. And so we try to learn about our government at a younger age before we turn 18, so we can make an informed decision about whatever politics or ideology that pertains to us. Unlike the right to vote, a passion and comprehension for politics is something that's within every individual internally, and we think that We Fill in the Blank kind of helps to bring out that passion, that drive for education and government. So a few of the things that we've done in the past, these are just like our most I guess notable forums and debates. We Fill in the Blank is organized around three primary main structures or themes that we kind of end up formulating a lot of our events and policies around. And so one of them is data. So a lot of our events in the past have been formulated around polling, and that's something that we're going to get into later, but a lot of our events around polling and just reaching out to the community about and trying to inform them about what's happening on a daily basis in government. And so we actually hosted we hosted an exit poll for the 2016 presidential election, and we have some pretty accurate data that came as a result of it. Sitting on that table over, I'll get to it later, but we were quoted in the Huffington Post, and it was a very interesting time for the organization as a whole, as we were able to kind of show that the youth, when banded together, I think we had over 150 students at the time that were going around to different polling centers and early voting and on voting day to actually just go around and engage themselves within the voting process. It was very interesting. So in 2010, we hosted a political forum, congressional primaries in 2012, congressional debate in 2014, city council or school board debate in 2015, and then the district attorney debate in 2016. And then recently, earlier this year, we had a mayoral debate hosted at El Paso High School. And it was kind of interesting for the new El Paso mayor. So these are just some separate pictures that we've taken. So exit polls, as I was talking about earlier. So 100 students conducted exit polls at over 1,000 voters in the 2012 congressional primaries and the 2016 election. So we've hosted exit polls many times, and we've been quoted, as I said earlier, in the Huffington Post. And I think there's another notable publishing company as well.
The Economist.
The Economist. And so it's just kind of interesting to see that the youth can actually have a truthful and accurate representation and effect in the community, and I think exit polls kind of attest to that within our organization. Borderland diversity. So within the Borderland, we've kind of focused ourselves, especially our flagship event, which is Borderize. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's a flagship event that we host every year, and it's focused around trying to engage the youth in government and politics, specifically focusing on, in the past year, the 2016 Borderize, or 2017 Borderize, we focused on engaging the youth in policy writing. And so what we did is we went around to different 8th grade schools throughout the El Paso area. A few of them, I think, on the east side, many of them, or a few came from Las Cruces and one from Juarez, Mexico. And we went around to those areas and we tried to grab teams of 8th graders that could be led by high schoolers like us to teach them how to write policies and how to actually, if you find an issue within your community, you can try to address it within yourself and then write a policy for it, and then eventually possibly even, promote that policy and follow through with it on a national level. As a borderland region, we can become like a powerhouse of civil engagement. Now, it's kind of like an ideological statement, but in a way, it's kind of true. I think a lot of the different events that We Fill in the Blank has held in the past kind of shows that we're able to foster a lot of community engagement, and that as a result, produce desired effects, from it. So here's some separate pictures. We have some high schoolers there at our library with like all the different We banners. I think this was during a teleconference that we were having. It may have been the mayoral or congressional teleconference on the top, and then they're just separate shots. So yeah, this goes into Borderize, like I said earlier. So last year, to go a little more into detail, we had a border fair on the first day that kind of got everyone excited and ready to engage and to write their own policies. And so we would have children, or not children, but young adults rather, go around to different roundtables where they would lead discussions on what issues they find within their community and how they can fix them. And then later on, at the end of the border fair, the first day that we had the event, or the first half of the event, we had them group up with different members of We Fill in the Blank, or members that were coming in to help specifically for Borderize, and they would group up with different high schoolers and try to formulate some sort of meeting over the course of May. This was done May 2017. So over the course of May, you would try to formulate some sort of policy, and in that month, at the very end of that month, I think we're actually halfway through May 13th, you would come again to another Borderize event, and it was the second half of Borderize where you would present your policy. It was just kind of like a celebratory dinner where you had a keynote speaker and talk about the youth's involvement in politics and stuff. And so it was very interesting to see, especially now that a few of the 8th graders are at Coronado High School and I see them every day attending classes. It's interesting to see that they kind of progressed from 8th grader to high school and they're able to advance themselves in that way. So here's a few pictures from Borderize. On the left side, we have Borderize the last year, and then on the right side, I think on the top right, that was from Tribune Fest. Tribune Fest is like an annual festival that's held in Austin, Texas, and we attended this year and last year. I think this is last year's photo. On the top right and the bottom right, we just have, I guess, a panel discussion by a lot of members of We. But on the left side, you can see the regional, or the expert roundtables happening. The top left, and that's kind of how it's formulated with the 8th graders in the community.
As you saw earlier with the teleconferences, we saw the photo of the We Fill in the Blank members having a big press-style meeting, and that was one of our other major projects with Congressman Beto O'Rourke, and this project was designed to physically bridge the gap between politicians and their youth constituents. Rather than just propose a hypothetical idea, we actually implemented a way where congressmen could work individually with students and bridge that gap between the youth constituents. And the purpose of this event was for the political engagement, and we saw that physical communications, ideas forming, and these ideas that students got from events such as Borderize. They were able to take the ideas that they learned from Borderize, from their actual community engagement, and present it with Beto O'Rourke and present it in these real-world situations. The insight gains now throughout all the events, while Borderize is our main, we do have many others, such as the debates that are held, such as the exit polling that is held. We have learned through the extent that how political apathy is present in our community, and we've seen just within, as high school students, we see on a personal level how present apathy is, and now we feel the most important part is to take these opportunities to engage the youth and to have them actively participate in their own political region and participate in politics. And it is vital to enforce this in youth because, as we were saying earlier, It's not something that you just gain when you turn 18. It's something that you have to, work with, get engaged in, and eventually you get this enjoyment and this passion that comes with politics. And as we stated earlier, how we have had such great results in polling, whether it's an exit poll for the mayoral or for the presidential or congressional, we have such great results that have been shown off in actual newspapers that we feel El Paso doesn't have its own polling center, and We Fill in the Blank wants to have their name on El Paso's first polling center and have it where we can, be an organization that goes out for the community and asks these questions, asks these important, and then gets results and can publish these results ourselves and get them out there to the community so we can see this actual physical response and see actual numbers that are representing. Because El Paso does not have this yet, we'd like to actualize and actually have a physical polling center where we are able to do this.
Okay, so another large part of We Fill in the Blank is what we call breaking the gap of apathy. Apathy in general terms is kind of having a lack of concern or lack of interest for any particular topic. But in terms of politics, it's a lot more of having a mentality that someone will come along and fix whatever issues you see for you. It's kind of the idea that eventually someone will come around and some politician will fix it or someone else will speak for you. Where We Fill in the Blank believes that it's very important that you step up to the plate, one might say, and kind of get involved yourself, and you break apathy within your community. El Paso has a very high voter apathy rate in particular, and that's an issue that we've seen for years now, and we really would like to try and get the community more involved. One thing that I think kind of prevents that is when people hear politics, they generally tend to shy away from that, and they think that it's something that could bring confrontation or something that's negative, whereas politics is really an opportunity for there to be unity within a community and for there to be open communication between citizens like yourselves and youth and the people who represent them. A big part of that too is that communication. Having communication with community members like yourself and just adults in general that can kind of guide us and have experienced the political process more than we might have because some of us are not of voting age. It's very helpful, and it's very important that we have strategic partners within the community who are willing to guide us and willing to work with us, because there's kind of a stigma around the youth that says that we don't care or that we don't have the time to be involved, which is just not true. We are very interested in trying to better our own communities and better our surrounding communities. I would say that once you kind of spark that passion within us, there's more of an opportunity for us to grow and when we become adults, be more active citizens within our own community and make the change that we see necessary. So that's a very large part of what we do.
Before I move on to our discussion of the social media that we use within the organization, I wanted to go back to Border Eyes and speak on a personal account. Last year, I served as a mentor for 5 middle school students from Anthony Middle School, and it truly was a wonderful experience because I got to see how interested they were in their community. Specifically, they were most interested in protocols performed by Border Patrol agents, and that was their subject area that I helped them research and gain insight on how to develop an actual policy. But it truly is a great event, especially for the students who do have an interest in their community and do want to attempt to make a difference for things that they feel is right. Moving on to the discussion of social media, we utilize Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter as part of our organization, all of which I think are very important outlets of social media. Especially in today's society, social media is one of the ways in which the youth gain almost all of their news, I would say. A lot of young people don't look at the paper every day and don't turn on the news to see what's going on in the world. However, young people, as you probably all know, are always on their phones, specifically on social media. So it is important that we're able to spread news that they might need to hear. Specifically on our Twitter, we work to not only update the community on what we as an organization are doing, And that we always update people about our events, what's up and coming. We even conduct some Twitter polls at times. We film interviews and post photos from different events we've attended. But in addition to just updating people on what we do, we also try to get out the word about what's going on around us. We focus on local politics as well as city politics, state politics, and even national politics. So we really just want to get out the message to the youth that follow us. While we do believe that adults are very important in the process of social media, the graphic on our next slide shows that it really is the youth that get the most out of social media. And as you can see, although adults are included in this graphic, the main impact lies within the youth. So we believe that social media has a really strong impact on informing the youth and making them able to make their decisions based on actual facts that are occurring in the community around us.
That's actually a main point that I think should be kind of implemented within outside organizations, with outside of Youth in the Blank. So if any of you kind of, are participants of any other organizations, perhaps it'd be, interesting to see would social media, implementation within such a, your organization, your respective organization, kind of bring in youth into your organization, try to fulfill, I guess, the role of that organization within the community from a youth perspective. We actually have some newsletters that we print on a monthly basis, well, semi-monthly basis, I'd say, but it kind of depends on certain things, but we have some newsletters that we print out. So I think it has our contact information.
And
on
I
here as
have
well.
business cards that I can
Okay,
pass
awesome.
out to everyone as well.
Okay, cool. So we'll just pass these out, and you can ask questions as necessary. Yeah, for sure.
Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
I have one. She spoke about empathy, and as far as empathy is concerned, is that involving also promoting the break of it in school among the teens?
I would say yes.
Actually, because I see them as a foundation. So is that promoted at schools also?
Absolutely. I think that the mission of Breaking Apathy is more than just like the voter community. It's definitely within schools as well. Trying to get people involved at an earlier age instead of just once they're able to vote is very important. And if you're able to kind of make them care when they're younger, they're more likely to make more of a difference, and be more informed voters once they're of voting age.
Shady, you had a question?
Did they speak to junior high or only the high school students?
Previously in past Borderized Symposiums, we worked with high school students. Last year was actually the first year we branched out to middle school students. And I'm going to let Connor actually speak about our outreach committee because we are trying to expand to people other than just in Coronado High School.
Yeah, well, this year we are again going to communicate with middle schools and get them involved in Borderized events. And we are also trying to expand, so it's not just Coronado centered and it's not just Coronado middle schools in that feeder pattern. We are expanding outwards, and we have in the past, but this year we're trying to implement it more and more. And we really should see a greater outreach to middle schools and eventually in these other high schools.
I just wanted to commend you. I think the presentation is really great. It's good to know that you're doing that, which I had when I went to school. It's great that you're trying to sort of elicit the youth to participate in politics. And I'm just curious about two things. One, who mentors you, and also how do you maintain a balance, sort of a neutrality, and not lead you to look at one party or one politician as opposed to another one? Because I didn't hear you say anything about that.
Well, we are a nonpartisan organization, so everything that we do is not to gear anyone toward one party or another. Everything we do is to simply raise awareness for students about what's going on, and then we let them take on their own opinion. For example, with our Borderized Symposium, we as We Fill in the Blank members do not instruct the students on what they should develop a policy on or what stance they should take. That's all based on their own research. The only role that we play in this is to encourage them to continue their research and to encourage their persistence in the process of developing that policy. So it's really not geared toward any side or another. It's simply geared toward encouraging them to participate more. And the ideas that they develop are all on their own.
David?
I also want to commend you. I see that your organization at some of these exit polling, doing the exit polling information, and it's great that you fill in that gap, that get that information out to the community. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you for your efforts. It's really commendable at your age that you all have taken this course. And have you expanded to any of the other high schools?
That's an interesting question, actually. I probably should have brought that up during the presentation. We're actually formulating, we formulated an outreach committee within We Fill in the Blank, and we're kind of formulating a team right now to branch out to the other high schools, specifically El Paso High and probably Socorro, Franklin, and El Paso High. But we don't necessarily want to set up an outside actual club within those schools, because we kind of want to detach ourselves from Coronado within the coming years, within like the next decade probably. We want to detach ourselves from Coronado and become
As soon as possible.
okay, as soon as possible, but it's probably gonna be a slow process. But we want to detach ourselves from the Coronado theater pattern, because we want to be more El Paso oriented, like, you know, we explained.
I just asked you that question because I'm the chair for the Burgess Community Committee, and we have talked about the role of high school students and even junior high school students and their role, and we've even talked about this possibility. And so, you know, in the future, perhaps maybe we can, I can have a conversation with you.
Of course, yeah.
And, because I think this high school would be very interested in
Yeah.
pursuing something of what you all have done.
Yeah, and so to avoid like establishing an actual club, like I said, like, because we don't want to like move too fast, we would actually, we've been trying to reach out to like teachers and principals about like outstanding students within the school that might be interested within participating within We Fill in the Blank, and then we reach out to those students individually and see if they'd like to be like outreach members. But absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much.
We actually have 2 members from Burgess High School right now that are honorary members of our association.
Awesome.
And the reason we brought them on board was to get their perspective and also form an alliance.
Oh, for sure.
They've also got a candidate that would like to go ahead and partner with you.
Oh, awesome.
Here in
Yeah.
Burgess.
Speak about We Fill in the Blank really does motivate us, because we would like to see that with the next school as well, because just the way it works in Coronado, we like to be.
Yeah, for sure.
See, so I saw your presentation at the summit, I'm like, man, we
Yeah.
can do something like that at Burgess.
Yeah.
And I brought them on board.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
wheels are in motion.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need the first step, and then it's, once we have that little seed planted out of school, it's
We'll
easier
just
to
go
work
from
with,
there.
yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot to go from there, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
To,
good.
to add on to that, hi, sorry, I'm also a member of We Fill in the Blank. We're also expanding our outreach to schools in Las Cruces, and we also want to outreach to Juarez, because We Fill in the Blank, we're trying to outreach to regional schools and just, you know, getting as much as the youth involved in politics. So that's something we are trying to do right now for schools in Las Cruces and Juarez as well.
So should you have like any information on like, you know, teachers or administrators in other districts in the surrounding, you know, borderland region, please take a card and email us, like, for sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Any further questions?
Thank you for
Very
your.
good. Next on the agenda, Officer Luis Gomez, please. The floor is yours.